when we talk about infrastructure and we talk all the things we want, we then have to look at how it gets done. And in Suffolk County, there was a capital budget process, and the legislature comes together and puts their projects in. And this last capital budget had a lot of good stuff for sewers, infrastructure, job development, all the things that we care about at this summit. And the guy who commandeered that process is here with us today, and we're going to hear from our presiding officer, Dwayne Gregory. Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. All right. Look at you guys tired. It's only half the day. You can't be that tired yet. It's my pleasure to be here today. Again, I'm Dwayne Gregory, the presiding officer of the Suffolk County Legislature, and it's a pleasure to be here at the Vision Long Island Summit. Eric and his staff and crew, they do a tremendous job in corralling everyone here and to talk about such important issues that particularly impact not only just Suffolk County, but Long Island. And there's so much talk about the brain drain. Not many of you, I guess probably more of you now, know that I'm an identical twin, and my brother and I, we went off to college. After we graduated, I came back, he never did. So many families are living that reality, and that's why we have the smart ladies and gentlemen here and talking about the things that are critical to Long Island's future, smart growth and transit-oriented development projects. They're going to keep our young people here in Suffolk County, and we recognize that. And they asked me to pitch in for my colleague, Suffolk County Executive Steve Bellone. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention his pet project, Connect Long Island, which is meant to connect transit-oriented developments to population centers, so people here in Long Island can get to and from where they need to go. And we've invested a lot of money in that. And Steve, as you all know, and I don't need to articulate it, but I will, has a vision, a strong vision on what he feels Suffolk County and Long Island should go. And when including that vision, he started a program called Jumpstart. And we put monies in there, over $5 million that are going to transit-oriented developments that are meant to help foster development for affordable and workforce housing so our young people can stay here, so that our young people aren't moving off the island and moving out of the state, and we can keep families here in Suffolk County. And our legislature, my colleagues on the legislature, we've supported that, and we're moving forward with that, and we're including more monies in the budget. We've also, this year, included $1 million in our budget to support MacArthur Airport, because we feel that's a critical asset in our Long Island region. And so you'll be hearing more about that in the future. And something that I spearheaded 3 years ago is to institute the Suffolk County Land Bank. And it was the first in the state to address blighted properties. We found that a lot of our blighted properties are located in our downtowns. Some of them have been there for 30 years, polluting our environment, not providing taxes. They're off the tax rolls pretty much because they're not paying taxes. For the first time ever, we're addressing those properties. We're sending out notices. We actually contacted 84 of those properties. Those people now are actually paying taxes. We've recouped $2.4 million back into our budget from back taxes, and we have others that are in payment plans that are continuing to pay off their back taxes. But most importantly, we've gotten monies from the state as well as the federal government to do phase 1 and phase 2 environmental assessments so that we can see where the problems are and get those properties remediated, developed, and back on the tax rolls, which is going to create more economic development for our local downtown communities. So we're doing a lot in Suffolk County. It's important that we talk about it, and it's important that we have environments and forums like this. So there's a lot of smart people out there with a lot of great ideas, and we need to come together in a cohesive manner and ensure that we're moving forward together. We can't have a fragmented approach. We have to have an approach where we come together so that we can address our important issues. So thank you for coming here today and supporting the summit. And Eric, outstanding job, and I'm just glad to be a small part of your success. Congratulations.
No, we heard from County Executive Mangano this morning about following through on promises that he made for infrastructure and transit-oriented development. We're getting that in the county. in Suffolk. And I think that's what's exciting. When we started this movement 18 years ago, there was a lot of pretty pictures. Remember the pretty pictures? Remember all the nice, beautiful renderings, the way the world ought to be one day? Well, guess what? Some of this stuff's getting done. A lot of it's getting done. And it's really because of the work. You know, when 18 people in the legislature come together and they agree on something, and a great capital budget with a lot of things for downtowns, it means a lot. Let's give it up again for Presiding Officer Dwayne Gregory. So one level of government can't do it alone, right? We heard from the towns and villages this morning. They're doing great work. We need the counties to provide support and assistance, but we also need our state. Our state can bring critical infrastructure dollars, and this year the state Senate delivered in a big way with $400 million in their budget plus the $150 million that was set aside. So they're really holding the keys to $550 million in infrastructure. We have 4 state senators here today. We're going to hear briefly from each of them from their perspective on infrastructure and whatever they want to share, because they're connected to the local communities. They're connected to many of you, and you know that, right? But we're glad to hear from them. Let's start with Michael Venditto.
Eric, thank you so much. I will be the first of the 4 senators to speak today, so if I make any glaring mistakes, my friends will be here to correct me. Thank you so much on behalf, of course, of our great leader, John Flanagan, for the invitation to join with you today. I'm going to keep it very basic as far as my comments go. We realize, and I think I speak for all of the elected officials who you see before you, that one of our primary objectives is to move Long Island forward from a development standpoint, but to do so in a way that's consistent with the suburban quality of life that we have enjoyed here for generations. And as someone who grew up around government and politics, I've come to learn that yes, government does play its part, there's no doubt about it. But the real driving force behind it all is organizations like Vision Long Island and people like each and every one of you. That's why we're going to take the time and pride ourselves on taking your input, listening to you, being your eyes, your ears, and your voice in the respective legislatures where we sit, and fighting as hard as we possibly can to bring the resources down to Long Island that we need to make it happen. Again, I want to thank you all for the invitation to be here today. Wish everyone a happy, healthy, and safe Thanksgiving and a great holiday season. Let's keep it going, Vision Long Island. Thank you.
So in addition to Michael being out there post-Sandy, Phil Boyle was out there with local communities, really trying to help folks recover and again, bring the infrastructure dollars that we need. Senator Boyle.
Thank you, Eric. And I, too, would like to congratulate Vision Long Island on another successful summit. As Eric was saying, I was at the original summits those years ago and saw the pictures, and it's so great to see it all to come to fruition, and it's due to all of your work in so many different capacities. And as far as governance is concerned, I serve as the chairman of the Commerce Committee in the Senate, and we did want to focus on infrastructure, getting some legislation passed to make it easier for you men and women to do your job and to expand the economic base on Long Island. But if you do have any problems, and I hear it in my office every day, I'm sure my colleagues in the Senate and the Assembly do the same thing. Some state agencies, slow on the dime. We can never say you have to approve this or you have to disapprove this, but we can say get it off the bottom of the heap. Let's get moving. We have a project that wants to be built, and they've been weeks, months, sometimes years waiting for it. Please call our office. A call from a senator or assembly person is going to get them at least looking at it quicker, and we promise we want to do that to get your projects going. It's going to be a great year, and I'll see you at the next summit. Thank you.
So, New York State Senator Carl Marcelino has been chair of the Infrastructure Committee. He's delivered money for bus service in Nassau County. He's been on top of brownfields issues. He's been a liaison to good planning and infrastructure investment for many, many, many years. So he's also a Smart Growth Award honoree. So we'd like to hear from Senator Marcelino.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Come on. Good afternoon. Let's hear it. Come on, be lively. You're on the cusp. You're moving forward. The whole project, all your projects are moving. Everything is in good shape. Everybody wants to do what you want to do. We're all here to support you. We're all here to let Eric do what he wants to do. Now, if somebody can tell us what Eric wants to do, that'll be even better, but that's okay. The idea of a public-private partnership, the idea of government working with the private sector to move things forward, to build communities that are user-friendly, not a bunch of places where steel towers grow up and people are not wanted. They have to be accessible to human beings. They have to be drivable. They have to be walkable. They have to be within range of schools. They have to be within range of other utilities, transportation. They have to be around that. So to make it work, make zoning work, that means you need to connect with local politicians, your local governments, as well as your state governments, and we can provide you with a level of funding, working with the federal level, we can provide you with levels of funding and help move the projects along that are worthy of movement. You determine what's worthy. You tell us what's good. Because if you don't support it, we're not gonna. It's that simple. You have to tell us what you think is worthwhile, then we have to go into the community and talk to our constituents and make sure it fits their wants, needs, and desires. That's important. Because if they don't like it, it's not gonna happen. So communication is the key. Now, I used to chair the Environmental Committee. I used to chair the Infrastructure Committee. Now they've seen fit, since I've done such a masterful job with all those other committees, they've seen fit to give me education. And that's my new job. So I've been running around the state and around the country, meeting with different educational organizations and meeting with different groups to work on problems of education. And it's key. It's key to it all. The schools have to be centered in your communities. They have to be accessible to the people who want to live in a downtown. And they should be able to live in a downtown. It shouldn't be exclusively business where at 5 o'clock everybody leaves and the place goes dark. That's not what we want. That's not what any community wants. So to develop these areas, to make the zoning work, communication, education, cooperation, that's the whole key. So again, you have my pledge. I've been here before. I've been before you before. We've talked before. And Eric knows my address and he has my phone numbers. I tried to change them, but he finds them anyway. So we're gonna keep on working together and we're gonna keep on making these projects go forward. And thank you. Have a great Thanksgiving. Have a great holiday season. We'll see you at the next summit, if not sooner. God bless.
Let's give it to Senator Marcellino one more time. He's always there. So this last senator was once a mayor, right? Senator Jack Martins was a mayor of Mineola. But even before there was Patchogue, there was Mineola. There was intermodal. There was redevelopment plans. Some of them are being built out now. You see a lot of development happening in Mineola. So this gentleman has taken the ethos of a local government official and brought it to Albany. And I can't think, when we think about making connections and we think about bringing the bottom up, this guy's doing it. He's been here the bulk of the day. He's served on a tax cap panel and has been connecting with folks today. We're just glad to have him here. Jack Martins.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here. First of all, I want to congratulate Vision Long Island on another wonderful summit. Great opportunity to catch up, see some old friends, and to reconnect on some of the issues that, frankly, are important to all of us. But I want to start with a question. You know, the name of this organization and this movement is Vision Long Island. How many people here in the room, it's a rhetorical question you can ask yourself, how many people here in the room believe that Long Island's best years are behind it? How many of us here in the room think that we are now heading towards a downturn and that all of those great opportunities that were once the hallmarks of Long Island and suburbia and Nassau and Suffolk County are behind us? Exactly. We wouldn't be here if we believed that. And when we talk about the future of Long Island, I happen to think, and I know that my colleagues in government feel exactly the same way, that the best years are ahead of us. We have limitless opportunities ahead of us, but it starts with infrastructure. The suburbs of New York City, Nassau and Suffolk County, would not be the suburbia that it has been these last 100 years if it wasn't for the fact that we had built out our infrastructure in advance. that we didn't have mass transit out here, the Long Island Railroad built, allowing us a ready access to New York City. But the reality is we are now at a point where that infrastructure has been used and reused well beyond its useful life. And we, as a group, collectively, have to reinvent suburbia for the next generation and for the next 100 years. And that's why we're here. So now we're talking about transit-oriented development. We're talking about building leaner, efficient, affordable housing and next-generation housing in our downtowns. We're talking about connecting different parts of Long Island and providing north-south connectivity in a way that we haven't done in the past, because historically, Long Island was meant to feed New York City, and now we have to start rethinking that. So we are in a position to do that, but it starts with infrastructure. And so whether it's the $400 million or the other $150 million, or frankly, and most importantly, the $32 billion that are going to be invested in the MTA capital plan. Now, we haven't talked about that yet. There's a 5-year MTA capital plan that's being developed right now, and many of you may have read about it already. Critically important that we fund infrastructure in multiple years. There has to be a plan. If you're going to have a contractor perform work and do work and gear up for it, they have to make the decision as whether or not to invest in that infrastructure and be ready to perform that job. That's why you need multiple year planning. We're at the cusp of doing that for the MTA with the support of our great governor, with the support of our New York State Senate leadership and delegation, with the support of our assembly, we'll get it done. But equally as important for our suburbs and for upstate New York, we have to recommit to a 5-year plan for infrastructure. For our roads, for our bridges, for our water treatment plants, for our sewer systems, we have to recommit to spending an equal amount, $32 billion in infrastructure improvements, not just upstate, but down here on Long Island as well. So that's why we're here. That's why we're here. We're having discussions about transit-oriented development, mass transit opportunities, renewable energy. But it starts with infrastructure. And as we consider all this, let's remember labor. I happen to chair labor in the New York State Senate. We need to make sure that we have a well-trained workforce ready to do that work. Folks, that doesn't happen from one moment to the next. We're very fortunate to have the apprenticeship programs tied to our trades and our building trades, and that's important. Let's not forget that we have to make sure that we, as a society, as a state, put the resources in place, make the commitment to rebuilding our infrastructure, but we don't forget that when that infrastructure is built, it's built with qualified labor. Let's make sure that we make sure those jobs are here, they stay here, we hire people from Long Island, we put contractors and New Yorkers and Long Islanders back to work, and we build up our infrastructure together. That's what this is all about. So on behalf of my colleagues in government, certainly my colleagues in the New York State Senate, we stand ready, willing, and able to work with all of you to make sure that that limitless potential that I talked about, that is the future of Long Island, is met. Thank you very much. God bless you.
So I think we've heard from our Senate delegation that, or half of our Senate delegation, that they're fighting for us for infrastructure in Albany, right? Right? Yeah? Yeah? Let's give them a hand. Let's give them all a hand. Because all of our projects in local downtowns don't work without that leadership. Now, we heard this morning from a number of our municipalities, they want a partnership with state government, but they recognize that it's a bottom-up process. Long Island's a community of communities. Long Island likes local planning and local zoning. Long Island loves our existing downtowns. And what's really great, sometimes when you talk about the state, it's this place, okay, Albany, or when you talk about Washington, it's far away. You know, when you have an official that's in office, in this case our Lieutenant Governor, who has been a former local official and understands local government, then I think, you start from a common place. You start from a good place to connect. And I don't get to introduce her today. I'm going to turn that duty over to my co-chair, Bob Fonte, but I just want to say that we had the opportunity to walk around downtown Huntington, and we were once Vision Huntington, and we certainly know the changes that have happened in Huntington. We're excited about them. We're part of them, and we're just glad to see our downtowns revitalized on the island, and we certainly need the state's help.